It is possible someday we will work on the same ship. Until then, it may be useful for us to continue our game.
Imagine the bridge of the Enterprise. The hum of the warp core, the stars stretched like silver threads, the anticipation of history being written in real time. And then that voice, that familiar cadence, Captain's log. But what if I told you that this time, those words don't belong to Christopher Pike, not yet to the Kirk we think we know from the original series, but to a man caught in the middle of destiny and doubt, a man being shaped into the captain we've always believed in. That's exactly what's happening in Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3, because this is the season Paul Wesley becomes Captain James T. Kirk, not just in uniform, not just in title, but in spirit, in responsibility, and in the weight of choices that will echo across Trek canon forever. The fascinating thing about this transformation is that it's not presented as inevitable. It's not as if the show simply hands Kirk the keys to the Enterprise and says, "Here you go, legend starts now." Instead, Season 3 pushes Kirk into the fire, throws him into crises, and forces him to question everything about himself. In Episode 6, The Sahelat Who Ate Its Tail, Kirk temporarily takes command of the Enterprise after Pike and the Farragut crew are incapacitated. On the surface, it looks like a simple plot device. Give Kirk the chair for an episode, wink at the audience, and tease the future. But it's more than that. It's a crucible. Suddenly, Kirk isn't the bold, confident figure fans remember from William Shatner's iconic portrayal. He's younger, less certain, and carrying a burden he's not sure he's ready for. Every decision he makes could mean lives lost. And for the first time, the bravado falters, the charm doesn't save him, and instinct isn't enough. He has to confront what it really means to be a captain. What makes this so fascinating is how the show uses mentors around him to shape his growth. Spock, the embodiment of logic, becomes both a mirror and a challenge. Kirk is impulsive, intuitive, and willing to take risks. Spock counters with calm calculation, with discipline. Their dynamic in Season 3 isn't just banter, it's the training ground for the legendary partnership we know is coming. Then there's Pike. Still captain of the Enterprise, still carrying the weight of his own tragic destiny, Pike offers Kirk something different. Not logic, but wisdom born of experience. In subtle conversations, in moments of quiet advice, Pike shows Kirk the cost of leadership, the regret, the responsibility, and the loneliness of the chair. And these two mentors, standing on opposite sides of Kirk's psyche, are slowly sculpting him into the captain he will become. But what's truly mind-blowing is how the show plays with audience expectations. In Episode 4, A Space Adventure Hour, we see Kirk in a holodeck-style simulation that exaggerates the qualities fans associate with him. Swagger, charm, the dramatic speeches, and the daring stunts. It feels like classic Kirk. But the showrunners are clever. They're not giving us the finished product. They're showing Kirk himself wrestling with the image of what he's supposed to be. It's a mirror held up to the character, and Paul Wesley plays it with this careful balance, sometimes leaning into Shatner's rhythm, sometimes pulling back, showing us a Kirk who isn't sure if the legend is something to live up to or something to resist. That curiosity is what makes it compelling. We're not just watching Kirk, we're watching a man try to figure out how to become Kirk. This season is also about moral weight. In The Sahelat Who Ate Its Tail, when Kirk makes a call that results in casualties, descendants of humans who had been displaced, he feels the impact of it. It's not brushed aside. The episode lingers on his regret, his self-doubt, and his fear that he might not be cut out for this, and that's exactly why it works. Because if Kirk were flawless from the beginning, if he just stepped into the chair and delivered iconic speeches, we'd learn nothing new. Instead, Strange New Worlds forces him to wrestle with the consequences of his decisions. It makes him human. It makes him vulnerable. And that vulnerability is what ultimately forges strength. The showrunners have been open about their long-term vision. They've even teased a potential follow-up series called Star Trek Year 1, which would follow Kirk's first full year as captain. That idea alone tells us that everything we're seeing in Season 3 is a deliberate setup. Kirk is being prepared, tested, broken down, and rebuilt. His story isn't background dressing to Pike's journey anymore. It's becoming a parallel arc, one that we know must end with him taking the center seat permanently. And the brilliance of it is how carefully it balances legacy with innovation. Wesley doesn't try to copy Shatner or Pine. Instead, he finds his own Kirk, one who bleeds, one who doubts, and one who is still figuring out how to merge instinct with responsibility. So here's the theory. Season 3 isn't just giving Kirk trial runs in command, it's constructing a roadmap of his evolution each episode layering new lessons. The holodeck parody of himself forces him to see the dangers of arrogance. The temporary command pushes him into the reality of sacrifice. The mentorship from Spock and Pike forces him to reconcile intuition and logic, compassion and discipline. And by the time we reach the later episodes of this season, Kirk will no longer be a man imitating greatness. He will be someone who has earned the beginnings of that legend. And here's where things get even more curious. Canon tells us that Pike cannot remain captain forever. His tragic fate looms in the background, an unavoidable part of Trek history. That means at some point, the Enterprise must pass into Kirk's hands. Strange New Worlds doesn't need to rush that. It thrives in the slow burn. But Season 3 feels like the hinge, the moment where Kirk's destiny begins to align with what we know is coming. It's the season where he shifts from protege to leader, where the crew begins to see him not as Pike's shadow, but as a captain in his own right. Look closely at how Number 1 responds to his orders, how Uhura starts to trust his instincts, and how Spock balances critique with respect. These subtle changes are seeds of the future, and the show doesn't make it clean. Leadership here isn't glamorized. It's messy, painful, and costly. When Kirk gambles, sometimes he wins big, but sometimes he loses. And when he loses, people die. Those moments scar him. And the genius of the writing is that it doesn't erase those scars. It leaves them there, shaping him into a captain who commands not out of ego, but out of responsibility. That's a Kirk we've never seen before, one built not just on charisma, but on empathy. So when you think about Paul Wesley's Captain Kirk in Strange New Worlds Season 3, don't just see it as a casting decision or a fan service nod. See it as the rebirth of a legend. We're watching the myth being built brick by brick, decision by decision, mistake by mistake. We're seeing a young officer wrestle with the image of himself, the weight of expectations, and the burden of the chair. And the most curious part? We don't know exactly how he'll get there. The show teases, hints, and mirrors, but never confirms. Will Pike's fate accelerate his rise? Will Spock's mentorship be the anchor that steadies him? Will a catastrophic loss define his command style forever? The pieces are all on the board, but how they fit together, that's the mystery that keeps us hooked. By the time the credits roll on this season, Kirk may not yet hold the Enterprise permanently. He may not yet be the fully realized captain we know, but he will be something more important. A man who has earned the right to step into that role. A man who understands the cost. A man forged by fire, by failure, by regret, and by courage. That's the transformation we're witnessing. And when the day finally comes for Kirk to take the chair for good, it won't feel like destiny handed it to him. It will feel like history earned it. So buckle up, because Strange New Worlds isn't just giving us more Star Trek. It's giving us a slow burn origin story for one of the most iconic captains in sci-fi history. And if the showrunners' hints are true, we're standing on the edge of a whole new era. An era where Paul Wesley's Kirk steps fully into the legend. Not as a copy, not as nostalgia, but as something bold, new, and deeply human. The future of Star Trek doesn't just rest on the shoulders of the Enterprise.